edges here are that he's trying to undermine the media. He could have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control exactly what people think, and that is our job. That is our job. That is our job.
And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Hey everyone, Dave here, December 1773. With me as always is Ryan. This is episode 93 of the weekly show, all of the week's hottest topics with a twist. Be sure, if you have not been aborted, to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, if you're watching on Rumble, make sure that you rumble the video. Very important for the algorithm. We got a couple of friends who like to comment. And we really appreciate it. We like to comment back as much as possible. Obviously, today's show, we are going to talk about Roe v. Wade for a little bit. I don't want to get swallowed into the Roe v. Wade thing. Obviously, nothing is nothing's even official yet, but thanks to a totally accidental leak, we have been revealed some of the potential outcomes here. I want to get into a clip that Ryan shared with everybody in the December Nation, and we'll see. It was such a simple point in this video clip. I told Ryan I was embarrassed that I didn't even think of it, because it's like the simplest thing that, I don't know, everyone sees things differently. Ryan, before we get too into it, do you have anything you'd like to say? Also, hello.
Hey, happy Mother's Day if there's any females out there that listen to this. Probably not after this episode. But...
Also, if you haven't aborted your child.
Dude, I gotta love it. You threw me so off. It's like a left field. I can't even focus, thrown off. No, we'll let it run. We'll chop it up after. Thanks for asking, though.
All right. I want to tell Ryan, we weren't going to get super into the actual abortion side of the topic, but I did want to get more into the leak and then the narratives and how politicians are using it to their advantage. And the way I wanted to get into the media aspect of things, I went and just searched, I Google searched Roe v. Wade to see what the top headlines were. We haven't done headlines in a while. We're going to do rapid fire because I just want to see how, I mean, you can see how many different takes they have and how bad some of them are. For old time's sake, headlines! This was CBS News. The threat to Roe v. Wade and the Supreme Court's legitimacy. The Supreme Court isn't legitimate because they did what the Supreme Court does. They strike down bad laws. The Guardian. Corporate America buckles down for culture war on Roe v. Wade. Basically what this is, which is hilarious because this is something the Guardian normally wouldn't support, but this is the free market. Certain corporations are paying travel fees for people who want to go out of state to have an abortion if they live in a more restrictive state, which is fascinating when you have certain states that do things differently than other states because it's not a federally protected right. It never was a federally protected right, even with Roe v. Wade. So, already we can see that, still abortions will be allowed. Abortions will not be illegal even if this gets overturned. CNN Politics. Roe v. Wade reversal would put local prosecutors on the front lines of the abortion fight. I guess the thought is when abortion's illegal because Roe v. Wade's gone, right? That's what they're saying, which is not true. Prosecutors are going to have to put on the fight here. Now, they get more ridiculous. This is Insider, which is funny because at the top it shows all of the stock market that's crashing. Jewish communities react to the possible overturning of Roe v. Wade, which could violate their First Amendment rights. I read the whole article. I still don't know how they made that connection. Apparently, flipping a technicality on the 14th Amendment, Roe v. Wade, that's what Roe v. Wade was, would make the First Amendment rights for Jewish people not exist. I don't know. In MSNBC, thank God they never fail to entertain. This was the worst take I've seen on the whole thing so far. And the reason is MSNBC says the end of Roe v. Wade is a men's rights issue too, literally. Now, the funny thing about all of it is they're actually correct because biology takes a man and a woman to create a life. And the other funny thing is because on the left, they're always constantly telling you that men don't have a say in the abortion because it's my body, my choice. And even funnier bonus points for funniness, they can't even define a woman. So I don't even know what to say with all of this, Ryan. Do you have any thoughts before I conjure some more up?
I really don't know how. Like, I'm trying to actually pull up the 14th Amendment. I'm getting there. I just don't know. I don't know where there is in that amendment that allows for abortions.
Well, there's not. There isn't. They created one. They tried to create a technicality, a right on a technicality of a privacy law.
That doesn't even make sense.
Exactly. And even Ruth Bader Ginsburg said herself before she was naturally aborted. She said herself that this was a terrible, terrible law, and she was about as pro abortion as it gets. Even she admitted this is a bad law. She said this is a bad way to do it. 49 years later, this is why. Because when you get some reasonable people in the seats, this is what they say. And even if this does get overturned, because remember, this hasn't officially happened yet. This was just a leak. Totally
what are they even calling
leak.
the document too? That's like words are so important too, because I think they're calling it a memo.
Well, it's yeah.
It's crazy as you wake up on Monday. What was the hot topic? Oh, that's right, Twitter getting bought for freedom, and then you wake up this week about attack on a freedom, just like they had you ready for the attack on last week's freedom. So they got you all riled up with the Elon Musk stuff to unload you with the abortion stuff. I bet you this memo is dated. It wasn't like they didn't write it yesterday. And people like Scalia and people before some of these other appointments like Kavanaugh and Gorsuch. I can't say his Russian name. Like even before these people, certain people on the court have always argued against Roe v. Wade, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
but I didn't know it was actually based on technicality or anything. To be honest, what's a shame is you hear about these things. Like I did the same thing you did, Dave, and obviously it flooded the news feed the first half of the week. I got things that took over the news feed by now, but it's still the Roe v. Wade thing has saturated a lot of this, and it's like. It was like the beginning of hashtags. Like they were able to hashtag Roe v. Wade and just brainwash you for the last 30 years with that. You know what I mean? So any reference of it, you're either like picking one side or another, and it's always going to be controversial, and it's not an easy topic. This is the problem with leaving those very hard decisions up to policymakers and government to begin with. Because when we allow them to define rights and allow them to define gender, language, freedoms, any of these, which should be all left to God, or the universe, or nature, or science, whatever you want to believe, right? That's endowed by your creator. These are the words of the founding documents of this country. That's why we always reference them, because words are important. We are endowed with unalienable rights. That means they can't be added or taken away. They cannot be diluted. They cannot be saturated. They are what they are. They cannot be 99%. They can only be 100% true.
And go a touch further too. Among those rights, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness.
Pursuit of happiness.
Life.
And they're derived from the creator, not from government. And this is a problem. Like this is one of those topics that's this and gun rights, honestly, is like such a good way to like portray to people how like I did not know this, for the record. That's that shirt from that guy, right?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's coming in handy right now.
Hey man, but that's the thing. Those two things. It's so fucking. Thank you, God, man. But that's what's like those two issues. You can like really show people how they circumvent a lot of laws. They hijack your emotions. They take these very, very complicated things and just make you pick a side. Yeah. You can't pick a side on these things. Because I agree with you. Like we have to have a conversation. So we can't just like pick a side right away. We have to talk. We have to understand. Right? You would think that these crucial things would be about communication and not force. And it always turns to force.
Well, the thing that's most frustrating about this conversation is that people on the left don't want to have it. And what I mean by that is there's a very simple question that this all boils down to. I guess two simple questions. Do you respect someone's right to life, and when does life begin? And if the answer
And
to the
should
first,
government set rights?
well,
To me, that's really what it is. Like, see, it's the problem because it's all these things, right? It is. We can discuss about life, right? And that would be I mean, how many billions of hours? That's really what religion. A lot of religion is based off, right? Life and all that. It's why it's been going on for thousands of years. That's what makes it so cool to talk about. It's just like this never-ending void of, like, just thought and creativity with it. But like, really, what Roe v. Wade really is the government making rights for you and you accepting them. That's why it's a landmark bill. It's legalese. Roe v. Wade's not even real common law English fucking derived from real Latin. It's legalese. It's all capital letters. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all laws. It's not real language like you and I live.
no, like I said, it
printed law like they print paper money. They print laws on this. It's a graven image. Thou shalt not worship a graven image.
Yeah, and like I said, it boiled everything down on a privacy technicality, and really where everything belonged, according to the Constitution, is to the states, which is where it's headed back to. That doesn't mean abortion's illegal, but some states like Texas will have the restrictive, heartbeat bills, whereas, shocking, if it has a separate heartbeat, it's a different life. Can't end it. In some states like Virginia and Colorado, you can still kill the thing once it leaves the womb. I mean, it's the states, right? The states are setting their parameters. Roe v. Wade, the only thing Roe v. Wade did was restrict that. So now you still have your options. You have 50 different options to choose from. There's 11, 12 states, and I'm sure there'll be more that follows, that have some type of like heartbeat style bill that don't allow you to have abortions in your third trimester. I mean, most reasonable people, and I'm not talking about politicians or people you see on TV or people in the media, but most reasonable people, at the very least, even if they're pro-choice, at the very least, they're looking at children in the womb at a certain point and saying, like, this thing has its own 10 fingers, its own 10 toes, its own heartbeat, its own head, its own body, its own everything. There's a certain point where it's, viable even outside of the womb with, a little bit of effort, but, it's...
Trust the science.
Right, trust the science at a certain point, and I would be considered extremist because I believe it starts at conception. What does that mean? When the sperm touches the egg, this is biology. The egg splits, and it's starting the process of human life. Every single person alive today started at that very same way. That would be considered extreme to some people. That's fine, but at the very least, isn't it reasonable? Like a heartbeat bill? How I don't understand how that wouldn't be considered reasonable.
See, and this is the importance of the conversation.
But that's a conversation we can't have with certain people. My body, my choice.
Yeah,
whatever.
And what is my body, my choice? Honestly, I don't want to say it this way, but I will say it. Like I might get criticized, but this is just women have 100% decision on who gets born in this country. 100%. There's only 50% of women. Only 50% of our 51% of our population is women. So they have a monopoly on who gets born and who doesn't get born.
And that leads us back to MSNBC. It's a men's right issue too. Well, exactly. Where were you since the beginning of time with that comment?
What it really is since women has 100% power over who gets born and who doesn't get born, if they have a bad decision and they don't want to, deal with the consequences of that decision. I'm not saying it's not rape from incest. It's not rape and incest, or it's not these crazy extremes. But I'm sure Planned Parenthood isn't asking. I'm sure they're not doing a 21-step evaluation on this young lady. I would like to think they are, but I don't know why I would believe that they would when I've, I don't know what to believe about it because it's so subjugated and it's so political. But I will tell you this: we can't give government the rights of us people. Like it can't happen.
Well, that's right, and that's why it's the wording is different, and words matter, definitions matter. That's why people have rights. Governments have powers. And in the Constitution, there's a certain set list of powers that go to the federal government, and everything else not mentioned goes to the states. It's very simply laid out, and we've been ignoring it for 200 plus years.
I remember what I was saying. I'm sorry. Yeah, women don't want to be held responsible for their actions. That's honestly, like, they have 100% autonomy over that. They don't want to give it back. And that's, like, this is just like anything else. You have to fight for. This is the Johnny Depp. This is men's Me Too movement too. Because I guarantee you, there's plenty of stories of guys out there that wanted that kid.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, and then like not to compare trauma, but what about people that can't have kids and all the kids in adoption and you know, like I thought this one time too that I'd rather just like basically get rid of it than have it live poor, and then you realize that like it's way more. It's way more than about that, man. It's fucking so much more. And then look up with that ideology, right? That it's just better to be dead than be poor. You would assume that everybody in third world countries is jumping off buildings like at Apple, and it turns out they don't.
Right.
They don't do it. People in Africa aren't dying because they're killing themselves. They're starving to death or warfare. They're falling hurt. Like they're not killing themselves. People in third world countries don't do it. So this idea, we have it so good that we think about killing our like this is the same shit the Aztecs did. They probably had enough people that they could just slaughter babies on the altar to please the gods, and have the blood spill down the fucking super stairs that nobody knows that aliens built it.
Well, it's similar. It's similar to like the viability argument too, because there's adults that can't sustain their own life. Also, it's just not an argument. But again, I don't even want to get into that so much. I mean, we can on another time, another day. But just more of the media twists on this and how the politicians are going to use this to try and propel their way to not getting slaughtered in the elections upcoming.
I swear I saw that headline that said Nancy Pelosi will benefit, like rally behind abortion and win either a midterm or onward towards 2024 for Democrats or whatever the fuck the article said.
Yeah, that's concerning.
I mean, we're talking. This is so, Dave. I'm sorry but it's so true because it's just like I know why we boil it down to pro-life and like pro-choice, because it's not even like. You can't even believe, like, honestly, if you believe the one way, you can't see the other way. But it's just like, I'm done with it. It's taxing. I'm so tired of everybody on Facebook had it. It's all over the time. It's just like, man,
this is not
how we do it. It's not how we
I don't even necessarily like those definitions, honestly, because that pro-choice kind of insinuates that the only choice is abortion.
Yeah,
right? Isn't that really what they mean when they say pro-choice? Because really, do you have any examples of when you're pro-choice? I mean, I was pro-choice during COVID, vaccinations and masks. I was pro-choice. Where was everybody else? Mandate. That's interesting. Where were you?
Well, dude, we'll see how this plays out, because there's now male birth control that you can like wipe on your chest and stuff before sex and other things. You can inject some into your scrotum and stuff. Like, dude, there's male birth control out there.
Yeah, there's male birth control. It's Crocs.
Because you won't get laid wearing Crocs. But maybe we'll see like a little sway in this, because the thing is, like, once again, women have all the power with this. They have all the autonomy over who gets born, and it's government backed up, and women get a lot of favors in certain situations, in certain court cases. If anybody knows what I mean, it involves like marriages in particular.
Mm-hmm. It's absolutely true. I mean, everybody watching who's had parents divorce, how many of them went to the father? I mean, I'm going to guess it's a very small percentage of people. Out of people watching, it's probably 100%. Zero. Out of actual statistics, it's very low.
Yeah, and what's a shame, I'm going to go on record and say men can probably raise better children. Like a single dad might be able to raise a kid better than a single mom sometimes. That's all I'm saying. I'm just like, think about it. Just think about it. Because we've had this image paint in our head with, it's crazy. They think, last thing, and then we can move on. I know, I'm sorry. It's crazy to think they could say all these things are construct and we're all influenced by religion and politics, right? Like all these things, you're just influenced, and that's why you pick what you pick. It's like, okay, But then I'm not to believe that people aren't thinking this very certain way on life because they're told to believe this way on life.
Yeah. Well, it's to your point about who would raise better kids. I mean, that's why people on the right often say that, 2-parent households are the best, because, you get, and again, this goes back to biology, and I know we're not the party of science, right? We're the party of conspiracies, but, biology of men and women is different, and they raise different kind of children. And when you have the balance of both in the same household, that's when you get better success. Not always, but statistically, usually.
Well, it's the building block of civilization. So in theory, you're literally attacking like the replenishment of our species. And like, if we were to do this, like if we were to do this to animals, we'd be called savages.
Oh, you mean kill their unborn?
Yeah, if we were like stabbing them with needles and making the thing die inside of them and be like, you're disrupting their species.
I would imagine so. I mean, we do eat
And I lied about
fetus
one more point.
chickens.
Something that I don't think I haven't seen anything highlighted about the purple states and abortion, which is something we really should just breeze over quickly, because you got to think, how many swing states is there election? 11, 12, 15, somewhere.
It's usually in that range, yeah.
Yeah. So you got to think those are like, quote, purple states that there's like, that's why they're a swing. So that's Pennsylvania, Carolina, I believe, shit like that, Florida.
Florida's becoming red, though.
Well, that's where I was going with this. You're going to see when these Roe v. Wade things and all this battle comes out, like we're going to see like this chop up, and we're also maybe going to see, I don't want to say like in a good way, but we're going to see maybe like these states that allow it, but they still have like this. They're trying to appease both people, right? Like they're trying to balance. They're trying to figure it out, right? Like they're trying to be adult about it, not just be extremist or whatever. Like maybe they can figure something out. You know what I mean? Like maybe, for example, the adoption system can get better, for example. Maybe like that could be an avenue, or organizations in religion, like Christian groups, can get involved, stuff like that. Maybe like some doors like that might open up in some of these states, and then hopefully that can get glorified, and we can see like, look, there's many avenues. Somebody very famous, Kanye West, was talking about something very similar about this, about building communities that would come together and take care of children that, otherwise would have been aborted because he would have been an abortion, and I also thought of this week, and then we can move on. I know, I'm sorry, but like everybody's been affected by this topic, and you may not know it, but somebody in your family, something had.
I've got
everybody.
I've got a handful of good friends who have been in tough situations, and I don't listen. I don't, just because I think a certain way doesn't mean I judge people. I understand people have difficult situations, and it is what it is. But yeah, I did want to talk about that clip you sent us. I chopped it up a little bit further, but it is such a simplistic response that this guy has. And I know we're kind of going back a little bit, but we're not, because he's talking about inflation. And
oh yeah, is this? I know exactly where he repeats himself over and over about corporate greed. Is that?
Yeah. So
yeah.
First of all, none of this makes any sense. Let's set this clip up. Who was this again? This is
Patrick Bet David.
Okay, I've never heard of this person until Ryan sent this clip.
Yeah, the value I brought him up on this podcast before. I don't know what guest he had on, but this dude's like an entrepreneur. He was in the military. I think he's like Iranian or something, Armenian, something like that, like a Middle Eastern or something.
He's Jersey is what he is.
He's like a rich billionaire. He lives in a crazy house, all this shit. But the guy's just super interesting, super smart, has awesome people. You know the deal. Like these people are like upper echelon people. But like his story's great, and he's got a great program, Valuetainment. I plugged him on the program before. But it's like a good place. You would kids. Honestly, I'm realizing with the spread of information and all these entrepreneurs on the internet, they're all libertarians. They fucking hate the government. Which is why they're automatized. Yeah. Well, that's why Elon Musk is building robots, because they're like, well, I don't need minimum wage if I can just employ robots, which is basically circumventing the law of having to pay people a minimum wage.
Which is why we always talk about minimum wage being a terrible idea.
Yeah, in reality, everything they do is just to circumvent the government one way or another, and they're trying to not. Long story longer. These people are all libertarian. And like this guy is just like, he's very straightforward, cut and dry. He's very successful, obviously. Like you don't get billionaire by ripping people off. That's not how it happens. Some people get rich that way, but you don't become ultra wealthy that way. Any of these guys will tell you. They all say the same exact thing. They all read books all day or fucking network. They all say the same exact stuff. Pat, this guy in particular, Pat said, before you do anything, if you really want to go forward with like building a business, for example, read 10 books on that topic. If you really want to, and then go do that topic. Like if you want to start a new field or try to get a new job or whatever, just read. If you want to learn something pretty good, economics, history, read 10 books on, But he's got a lot of good stuff.
How did inflation happen? Yesterday, Dinkin sends me a picture saying, hey, should I call you Nostradamus or whatever? Because, and shout out to Dinkin, by the way, he sends me this picture and he says, gas prices in Nevada, $8.25 for
Look at the
regular.
price of diesel, man.
$8.25, $8.49, $8.73, $8.90. Okay. So do you know when I watch this, what I say? It's okay. I'm not affected by it. Me. Yeah. But you know when I look at this, what I say? Who the hell can afford to pay $8.25? Hey, son, can you come visit me? Haven't seen you for 2 weeks. Mom, you're 18 miles away. It's going to cost me $22 to come visit you. I can't do that, Mom. So inflation is a byproduct of what?
Corporate greed,
Printing money,
supply and demand, the ebbs and flows of the economy, and potential.
He's getting so red.
So go to the first one. Inflation is a byproduct of corporate greed. Unpack that.
That doesn't even make sense.
These gas companies don't have to charge.
He tries.
Okay. So
but they're doing it because they can. Now maybe there's supply chain issues.
No, maybe.
So then let me ask you this question.
Oh, maybe the prices are more expensive.
Let me ask you this question. How come they didn't do this 2 years ago?
There it is.
How come they didn't do this 3 years ago? If you're saying to me, if that's the argument, where the argument is they did it because they can.
Well, 2 years ago, no one was driving, so they couldn't do it then.
Go 3 years ago. How come they didn't do it 3 years ago? How come they didn't do it 4 years ago? How come they didn't do it 5 years ago?
I don't know.
I wonder if those 17 Nobel Peace Prizing economists, if they were asked the same question, if they had the same answer.
The ones Biden always refers to.
Dude, there's 91 Nobel Peace Prizing winning.
I will be the first to admit I am embarrassed I didn't think of that point. It's so true. Gas prices are only this high because they can do it. Well, yeah, but they could have done it the entire time.
Well, what was like the whole thing? Go back all the way to Standard Oil and Rockefeller. I'll never forget when my economics teacher, Mr. Jablonski, everybody was scared of that guy. He drank coffee with alcohol. But
yeah,
the guy always said it was crazy that the Standard Oil Company, he had this big monopoly, he owned everything, right? But he still had cheaper gas before the monopoly. While he had a monopoly, then they did after they broke them all up. Gas went up when they split them apart and stuff. You know, and that was supply and demand, right? Like pure economics almost.
Yeah, but there's so much that goes into it. But his whole point from the get-go is flawed because he says corporate greed causes inflation. Corporate greed doesn't cause inflation. It can be a byproduct of inflation. But it doesn't. Corporate greed doesn't start inflation.
He had another good point. I don't know if it was on that program. That's PBD, which was that dude, the other guy that he was talking about with inflation. I didn't know that when I watched it. It came up in my YouTube reel, but I'm pretty sure it was on his actual program. But he talked about how they tried because Pat interviewed Andrew Yang on his program.
Yeah, this was in the same clip. I cut it out, but yeah, about universal basic income.
Yeah. Okay, so that was a piggyback clip. Okay,
and he says, and the point he made is great. He says, I don't want to hear about UBI. We tried it and it failed. We tried it for the last 2 years, and the guy's like, "Well, what are you talking about? Are you talking about PPP?" Yeah. Well, it was a leaky bucket. Well, yeah, it was done by the government. Of course, it was leaky. It's going to be the same way when it's UBI, and that was $2,500 for. What was it, for 2 years or whatever? I don't remember how much it was. But Andrew Yang was, what, $1,000 a month? Every month? You don't think that's going to cause inflation? It's absurd. If money isn't earned, it has to be created and given away out of midair, because if it's not earned, it doesn't exist. It's not real. That's not how capitalism works. It doesn't just float into your pockets. It's an exchange of goods and labor and product.
Yeah, Elon said this on Joe's program during the pandemic when he was talking about moving Tesla and everything. He said, in order for you to have stuff, you gotta have the stuff, you know, because they were shutting everything down, telling everybody all this stuff. It's just at some point, this is just gonna stop. You know, it's so crazy. These people get so obsessed with holding the brakes on stuff that you forget practicalities involved. Maybe that just shows how good we have it, that we think so unpractical. I don't know. Maybe we were always like this, people. What do I know? I'm just
Maybe.
a fucking white boy from the suburban of Buffalo. Go Bills.
That was all I had this week.
Really?
Mhm.
Huh.
Yeah, but believe it or not, we're like 30-something minutes in already.
Wow.
Time flies.
All right, so here it was. I have the actual. I think this was the actual day.
Is this the Pelosi thing?
No, Tuesday, right?
Oh, okay.
Supreme Court draft opinion would overturn Roe v. Wade, published by Politico. It's not even according to the draft. It don't matter. We'll just make them up as we go along. This is like whose line is it, anyways?
I like that Politico was appalled that somebody leaked this information, and it's like, well, Politico leaked the information. It's in you're the article that's breaking this news.
And then I seen during the week as well, there's a tier star. Now I don't want to beat this to a dead hammer because it's tragic, and we talked about enough tragic shit this week. Girl, she was on one of those reality shows. She killed herself.
The girl who was on a reality show killed herself?
Yeah, toddlers and tiaras.
Oh, Jesus.
Toddlers and tiaras. I don't know. She's a star. So I don't know if this was a girl that was on there mad long ago and then like whatever. But this girl's gonna live this wonderful life. I read part of the article because being a father and stuff, you always wonder like. And she was gonna go like for gymnastics and stuff, full ride scholarship or something, or medalist. Just like this wonderful life, it seemed. It's just like kind of some of the stuff we talk about here on the program, just about being grateful and stuff too. But like, man, we got it really good, and there's a lot of people that, everybody fights their battles and stuff, but, like maybe, I don't know, it's just tragic shit. It puts it in perspective. A 16-year-old, man, fucking 16.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I mean, I don't want to speculate on what happened, but I can't imagine growing up in that environment is good for your mental health. I'm not saying that caused it or anything, but just, I don't know. I just can't. I couldn't see that being good for a child. So this goes to that Florida law. I mean, we need to let kids be kids. We don't have to force them into this kind of stuff. Even if they want to do it, you should be the parent and say, listen, you're too young for this.
Well, maybe it is too, is like, I know as a father, and as a person myself, you hold yourself to standards and stuff. Maybe we should reflect a little bit, like maybe realize maybe me, maybe I'm for myself here even a little more. Just like maybe ease off the gas a little. My dad tries to tell me, I'm trying to burn candles at all the ends sometimes. And maybe not everybody can handle the pressure, And then even at some point, no one can handle the pressure forever. So I didn't know that they released like this new telescope. It's called the James Webb Space Telescope. And the telescope in particular, like I saw some of like the pictures and stuff. It's just like simply incredible, man. The picture of it looks crazy and everything else, but that's what they meant. I didn't know this at the time, but that's what they meant about the space, like the Hubble being obsolete. They launched this thing. It's going to do all these tests. So like, I don't know. I know you've come across like those pictures when you come about the galaxy, and it just is like fucking mind blowing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's just like imagine if we were to cut all our lights off, we'd see all that. That's what's really crazy. Like our ancient ancestors would like sail on the stars and shit.
Yeah, to an extent.
Vikings would use the stars.
To an extent, but the
science
behind a telescope is actually super interesting. It has to do with the rate at which, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's kind of the rate at which you can send or receive light. So like your eye can only receive so much light at so much speed, and that's why you have a limited availability of distance. It's wild. So like that's why they have all of these different lenses and things like that, because that's what helps receive the light faster. So if you can receive more light quicker, then you can see farther away.
Whoa.
It's wild.
We are so cool. This is like I've said it before here. I will say this probably till the day I die, man. We really discount our ancient ancestors on the shit. Like when we say, oh no, they couldn't build the pyramids and all this stuff, man. We really discount the stuff they did.
Yeah, no, a few good handful of Jewish slaves. Yeah, definitely.
It's just so cool. But so the space telescope, right? I'm linking this together because I've seen this really article. This is what I actually sent Dave, and I had like a little rant about this a little bit. Here's the article. What is the multiverse, and is there any evidence it really exists? This was a National Geographic article, if I'm not mistaken. Scientists can only see so far before they run into the edge of the universe. Now, I don't know if I told this story before I go further. I asked my science teacher in 10th grade what the universe was in. The guy fucking laughed at me. His name is Mr. Colbert. I'll never forget that.
Wait, what?
Asshole.
If you asked what the universe was in?
Yeah, and he laughed at me.
It's in space.
Yeah, but like space just can't be forever, bro. It's not how it works.
But it's not. So we actually recently watched something about this. It was on Star Talk, Neil deGrasse Tyson. They were talking about how can space be ever expanding, because wouldn't it have to be something inside of something to expand? And the answer is no. Outside of the ever expanding space is nothing, and then space is being created more and more in all directions.
Nothing doesn't make sense though, Dave.
But it is. It's nothing, because without life and without atoms and photons and light, and it's literally nothing. And
or what we perceive as nothing. It
has to be nothing.
No, or we just perceive it as nothing.
Well, what do you perceive as something?
What if we just can't see what's in the nothing? It doesn't mean that there's not something in the nothing.
That could be the case too.
It just means that we can't see the something in the nothing.
That could be the case too, but we are talking. I mean, these are all theories per se, but it's a pretty.
I hope so.
Yeah, it can't be known. That's, I guess, why it's the unknown. And again, just because it's agreed upon doesn't mean it's science. But the general agreed upon theory is that outside of space is nothing, and space is ever expanding into the nothing.
How am I supposed to trust scientists when that sounds like shit my daughter made up? That sounds like a car conversation I have with my kid when I'm making up a story, when I'm just driving around being a fool at myself. Yeah, it's in nothing, but it's ever expanded, and it's just like this purple color at the end of it. It looks super nice. It's like rainbows and butterflies.
But you have to
pay these guys tens of millions of dollars a year and have full Netflix programs to have them describe to me the shit my kid makes up in the back of the car.
Yeah, you have to take the good with the bad.
This is like every drawing a kid has ever done on a scrap of paper that was like, this is a unicorn, and it just doesn't look like anything. It's just scribbles on a page.
Yeah, they do wild stuff. Like they can come, science comes up with cool stuff, like how telescopes work, and then they can come up with some stuff like not knowing what's happening, so they just make something up.
I'm not expecting them to have an answer. I'm just saying it can't be nothing. It just can't be. It doesn't make any fucking sense. It makes no sense. I don't know anything. I'm not a fucking Neil deGrasse Tyson Fury. I don't care. All these people, smash them together. Get Joe Rogan, clone all these people, put them in a meta tank at fucking Zuckerberg's house, and boil them down to one person. I don't care. I'm not expecting an answer. Okay, it just doesn't make any sense. You can't tell me there's nothing out. This is nothing.
But unless you consider emptiness something, I guess that's the theory.
It's empty. Just say it's empty. Don't say it's nothing.
Well, that's what they mean.
Oh, there's nothing there. No, they mean nothing.
Well, yeah, but if it's empty, it's nothing.
No, this is shit my kid makes up. This is.
But whether it's empty or nothing, it's irrelevant. It's not something.
These people get funding. These people get funding. Like, think about that. This guy gets funding. He's very bright. I'm not shitting on science. I love it. It's awesome. I like making fun of it too. But like, think about it. Really think about it. Because I gotta read articles like this that we're talking about. We're finding the edge of space. I'll get back to it after this dumb little tangent. But like, I'm telling you. These people, this doesn't make any sense to me. This is why I have a tangent. This is why I don't believe in aliens and all this other crazy shit. Tell me there's nothing out there, just and then you're looking at me and saying, blah, 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 blah. There's got to be aliens. We can't be the only ones. Well, apparently there's nothing out there.
Neil deGrasse Tyson actually does share a similar alien view with you. He does admit it's highly unlikely that we're the only ones, just because of the size and vastness of space. It'd be super statistically extremely unlikely. But he also admits that he's a scientist, and until he sees proof that there's existence, he won't say there's existence of aliens. But the other thing he says is that if the theory is there's such an advanced civilization that they can travel light years and light years and light years to come here, why would they be interested in visiting us? To which I point back to my theory: we go to the zoo. I'm just saying we go to the zoo. They're way less advanced than we are.
Theory, actually. There's actually a more applicable theory than us going to the zoo. It's us spending trillions of dollars to blast a little fucking metal tube onto another rock and drill a hole. So, I'm getting to the Space Force later. Like, I'm not talking space and not politics. Like, I'm not going super dorky about this awesome science conversation for no reason. I'm getting into politics with this because there's some shit. Okay, these dirty Ruskies. You know what? I'm gonna have my boy with his super cool telescope up there take you out. But yeah, my point with the multiverse thing is, I always got to hear about it. I always got to hear about this crazy thing. You know, this that we're in multiverses, and apparently Edgar Allan Poe, 1848, proposed it. Okay.
I don't fully understand the multiverse, to be honest with you. I don't. Is the theory of the multiverse that since there is ever expanding space, is the theory because there's ever expanding space, there's ever expanding timelines and dimensions of existence? Because that's how vast it is. I mean, it seems like the root of the theory, right?
I think they mean that, like, at the edge of our universe, it's just like the pole of, like, not the exact same thing, but like the same idea of what we're in on the other side of it. So, you know, right next to nothing, on the other side of nothing, there's another side of nothing, and then there's stuff on the side of that nothing.
So it's space ever expanding into nothing, and then on the other side of the nothing is space ever expanding into nothing.
I guess.
But the nothing is so fast that the ever expandings never meet.
See, it doesn't make sense. And then they tell us a thing in metaphysics that particles across the galaxy are fucking tied to each other magically, and when one of them moves, the other one of them moves. Metaspace particles. I just don't. My dad's in his glory right now. He's been lighting me up with space stuff lately, so I'm gonna light you guys up with space stuff. I seen some shit today. Them Russians talking shit. Okay, so here's the article, the Fox News article. Russian Space Agency chief boasts nuclear capabilities, claims NATO would lose in, quote, in 30 minutes. A Russian official has boasted that the Russian would destroy NATO countries in a half hour if conflict escalated to the use of nuclear weapons. He stressed that such events cannot be allowed to happen because consequences will impact the entire Earth. So why say them? That's my main question.
Who said this?
Oh, just some Russian space agent.
Oh, so he's pretty biased.
Yeah. You know, he's not a commie. Russians has roused fear and concern over the potential use of nuclear weapons as Russian President Vladimir Putin prepares for the May 9th Victory Day celebrations. When have they ever fucking won?
I don't know, but it's weird we haven't heard about them recently.
Yeah, including a massive military parade or nuclear theme. Quote, nuclear theme. Yo, what a party. Maybe that's what my next birthday party should be. That he hopes will send a doomsday warning to Europe and the United States. The parade will include the flight of the Russians' Lithuanian 2-80, known as the, quote, doomsday plane that will carry the administration's senior leadership in case of a nuclear war. Oh, that's cool. Why would we just shoot the fucking plane down? Why do... You know, look...
Oh, you think we're that advanced, Ryan?
Yeah, the United States is just dumb letting these guys fly fucking airplanes. Yeah, that's where they're all... There's no way. That thing's filled with, like, pixie dust. There's no Russian nuclear warhead officials on them planes. I can't even believe they print this stuff and people believe this shit. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat. There's nobody on the plane. They probably operated with a remote control. I can't believe you can't see the string on the fucking thing. I don't buy any of it. They're all it's all bullshit. There's no way. Like, yeah, here's the thing. We're showing our strength. Why wouldn't we just drop something on them? Yeah, we'll wipe out NATO in 30 minutes, but here's all our cool shit in one spot that you can take out in 5 minutes. Just don't make sense. It doesn't make the art of war. Like, you always got to think when you're strong, you got to appear weak. When you're weak, you got to appear strong. Like, all these things, the stuff doesn't go away. Like, when you read these articles, don't think that they're not doing this as like a mass propaganda spear. Like, that's exactly what this stuff is. Now, I'm not saying they don't have this capability, because obviously the United States got cool shit. So I don't think Russia doesn't have the cool stuff. But it's just like, we have to be careful when we consume these media outlets. You know, like, there's a reason Fox News worded it this way. You know, obviously. It got my attention. But it's just crazy to me. Like these things that we just think is like, oh yeah, they're just in an airplane that is ready for nuclear war, and they're boasting this. I mean, remember when Trump wanted to do something similar to this with the military? As head of the Roscosmonauts.
Yeah, the cosmonauts. They're astronauts.
No, I know.
Astronauts.
Yeah, but ROS.
Oh, I don't know.
Cosmonauts. Cosmos. Whatever.
Russian
oversees the launch and
over
management
space.
of the Russian satellite, which includes some crossover in intelligence and war support functions. That's weird. But Rosengazin is no stranger to making outlandish comments. Following a Western station that punished Russia for its invasion of Ukraine, including threats to the International Space Station. That's cool, considering there's Russians on there. He also claimed that Russian rockets are, quote, the most reliable ones in the world, and suggested that people who planned the sanctions were suffering from Alzheimer's disease.
Okay, let's be clear. The most reliable rockets in the world are made by a private billionaire.
Elon lands back at a fucking launch pad from the stratosphere. I gotta hear about Russia. Fuck you.
Russia is a step above dick rockets.
Dude, you said that Joe Biden has Alzheimer's. The people who planned the sanctions were, quote, suffering from Alzheimer's disease. They just...
I didn't even think of that as a joke, because I just assumed that's true.
Yeah, if the Russians know it, it must be true.
Well, the Russians are seeing the same thing we see, right? They see him turning to shake hands with nobody. That's not normal behavior. It did happen. It was on camera.
No, it's...
And like when he was saluting to nobody.
The Ministry of Disinformation will take care of that, David.
Waving off in the distance.
Continuing on here, he just threatened that the space station might deorbit on America or European soil, because I'm sure they could just crash land that thing if they want. He said, do you remember, Dave? Fucking son of a bitch. Do you remember months ago when we talked about when the space station was turned by Russians by accident? Now they're talking about crashing the thing? Huh. That's fucking weird.
It's almost like they were...
PSYOP, it was testing out the controls before they decided to call the motherland and say it was possible.
Yeah, they spun it 360 degrees.
And I'm a conspiracy theorist. Did I call this? Did I? Seasonal allergies. Just get over it. I'm sorry. I know it's gross. It's fucking crazy. They just admitted that they can crash land the hand of God in the sky on anywhere in America, Europe. Even if it's not true, these guys are unslinging a big dick right now, man. This is crazy. We gotta take these. We have to take care of this. Like, this is not okay. Back to my freaking...
You're inappropriately touching our viewers right now. Stop that.
I was using my index finger, though.
Oh, that makes it not rape. To any of our viewers worried if you do get pregnant, rape and incest.
Yeah, just claim that. I'm sure they're really not. Rape and incest. You want to press charges? No. All right, come this way down this magically lit tunnel.
Is there? I mean, that's a good point, though. Is there any due process that happens?
No, there's no.
In an exception for rape and incest? Yeah, hold on. We gotta launch an investigation.
All over college. You have rape buttons all over college campuses flashing fucking blue. Of course not. They don't know who's raping anybody. Jesus Christ. You want to press charges? No, I don't want to be in court. Why,
anyways.
Be Johnny Depp in court? Jesus fucking criminy. This is whatever. If they just go on to smash talk this guy, but I just thought it was funny. This guy's threatening America.
Yeah, definitely.
So apparently Formula One is coming to Miami.
To Miami?
Like the first time. Yeah, it's like the first time a Formula One event is held in the United States, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's cool. I know Vegas is making a track.
Yeah, that's probably why. I was in the article that I read. It was a lot about the numbers of like how much millions of dollars in revenue and everything else that Formula One has been making in America and stuff. And for people who don't know, Formula One is like it's like the peak of automobiles.
And
Basically,
driving.
Right.
Like those drivers are impressive.
Yeah, they could like catch a hair before it touches the ground, at like Mach 5. But like seriously, like peak humans, peak everything, peak precision. Like we're talking precision machining, fuel. This is where like these like people don't think like, oh, miles per gallon. They are not. They run these cars like whatever car you drive. They definitely test those, but they really understand miles per gallon. That shit really matters in a race car. That's when they can extreme everything. This is basically the rape and incest of the car world. The extreme scenarios of these machines. But it's true. It's just cool. They're super cool. If everybody, I'm not expecting, I don't plan on watching them, but I do appreciate motor vehicles. And with the nice weather here, you're seeing them. I've been seeing bikes out, everything else. I spoke a few weeks ago about car culture, how I love it. I'm always a part of it, and I respect it. But Formula One come to America is freaking sweet, man. I don't know if they could race it on the Glen. It'd be dope, though. I know they race Indy there, but
yeah, I suppose they could.
But it just makes you wonder, like, how sports are kind of carbon open. I wonder if some of this is the fallout of football as well, or just the growing racing culture in America. I don't know.
I think a lot of it has to do with, in my opinion, the decline of NASCAR. I mean, NASCAR has not done well the last decade, or not as well as
they lost their.
Not as well as it used to do, or I'm assuming as well as they projected it to do. I guess it still does well. I mean, there's still a following, but.
You think they lost their golden era of superstars like the Earnhardts, Tony Stewart, Jeff Gordon, Rusty Wallace?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's when I watched. Like that whole before they kind of like changed up all the cars. I mean, I watched Dale Earnhart die, in the accident and everything. I saw that live on TV.
Me too.
Like
it was pretty wild.
I was a NASCAR fan for a while.
And honestly, it didn't look like it didn't look that severe at first. You know what I mean? Like you watch.
Unbuckled, right?
Yeah, for people watching who've watched NASCAR, you've probably seen dozens of wrecks way worse than that. At least visually looking. It was crazy.
Yeah, Tony Stewart was my favorite driver, and he got in a super bad wreck one time at like Talladega, I think. He like flipped over and shit. And
yeah.
He always like, wow, man. But yeah, Dale just like got ducked and bam. But yeah, just to hear like growing. I mean, dude, cars are so cool, and I always keep thinking, the level of freedom and stuff. We always talk political. I don't want to like get here at the end of the show, but like maybe it just awakens like the spirit in me to like just run like a car. Just like cars are meant to go. Like you're always supposed to go forward. Maybe that's what's always been enticing to me for that. Like,
well, the thing I always really appreciated about NASCAR was its actual roots. The idea that it was created for moonshining is just the most amazing thing.
Yeah, and that they were souping their cars up, like adjusting stuff and putting bigger engines, bigger than cops had. So they were like faster and were better drivers than police officers, and they were like getting away. It's just like so American, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like
it's
rebellion.
Awesome. I feel like they've lost that a little bit.
Yeah, well, there's nooses hanging low there. So I guess I walked.
That was a garage door rope to pull it down in case the garage door didn't work.
It's called a handhold.
Like it would have been on every other garage door in every other NASCAR racer's garage.
Probably was. So they mobilized federal troops for that. It's just so crazy. All right, I'm gone. Thank you, everybody. Dave Ryan, December 1773. Like, comment, follow, subscribe. You guys know what to do. I don't know why I always got to say an outro, Dave.
But we do.
I know. Look, I don't hate. I'm just terrible at it. It's mostly because I do things off the cuff, unlike you, who are very structured. Yeah, like, comment, follow, subscribe. If you like the video, share the video. Make it to the end. I always appreciate that the most. Thank you, David, as always, for your time. Thank you, everybody. Catch us Mondays at 7, YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble. I will see you guys at the premiere. I'll be there live commenting.